kills the dramaticism
Only
of the moment.
I decide when it's time to strike. And now is not the time. But talk to me again when I've made it to the Grand Line.
Yikes. Indeed. Alright, so in another edit, they edited his fight so that instead of using blood, he uses his sweat. Because of course. Here's one from Shaman King. I'm not sure how those worked, but sometimes it would just delete scenes. Like this is one where Kaiba jams a gun with a card. Don't ask me how. But one thing they liked.
Yep, the finger guns. The finger guns.
Right? And yep, they liked this was a favorite way to replace firearms. But the best example is from Yu-Gi-Oh! This is actually a scene I should mention was toned down to begin with. In the manga, Pegasus uses his Millennium Eye to make Bandit Keith shoot himself in the head, but in the anime, 4Kids Japanese, he activates a trap door. But 4Kids adds something extra at the end to make sure you know he's not dead.
Way to go, baby.
So once again, not limiting sensitive to firearms. This guy's clearly reacting to a whip around the neck, but the whip's around his waist.
Even though he's holding his neck.
Cards, I just love bringing these up. These would be a panel by themselves. They got, if they were too violent, they got edited. My favorite one is Mature Panda, or as I like to call it, Domestic Violence Panda. And Dramatic Rescue. Okay, episode of Pokemon was never aired, The Legend of Bikini, because this happens to Ash, but it's a noticeable loss because he catches several Tauros in this episode and uses them later. So we were all really confused about that. Go on, are you okay? Okay.
I don't think he's okay.
Right, this was also in Sonic X, although in this case there were just too many weapons to edit out, so they replaced gunshots with laser noises.
Pew pew, pew pew.
Still noticeable. Under big edit, death and dying. Death was a subject 4Kids avoided whenever it could, even when it affected the plot or character motivations. Worst offender was the Yu-Gi-Oh! For their creation of the Shadow Realm, which we have to get into quite a bit, and the runner-up is One Piece. Okay. Yeah, so disappear, die, what's the difference, right? Alright, Shaman King, this was the big one where they couldn't avoid it because, you know, it was about death and spirits. So this was a character, though, who got edited a little bit. He was a doctor driven mad by the murder of his wife. He was a shaman who used necromancy to fight, using his white wife's skeleton as a medium. Surprisingly, they didn't edit any of that. What their problem was, they didn't like calling him a necromancer, so they decided to call him a boneyard sorcerer instead.
Okay, sure.
The Shadow Realm of Yu-Gi-Oh! It does not it's not in the Japanese version. It's purely a censor for death or injury.
Yep.
Right, and some episodes, like I think the best example, Kaiba threatens to commit suicide while losing a duel to Yugi. But in the English version, he's just like, oh, if you attack Yugi, you'll make me fall. And he has a pretty metal line in the original, use your card to slit my throat. And the Yu-Gi episode Double Duel, Yugi and Kaiba are dueling against Umbra and Loomis on top of a building. They said it's going to break if you lose and you go to the Shadow Realm. No, you die by gravity.
Yep.
And the Dark Energy Disc.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, this one is going to send you to the Shadow Realm if it touches you. No, it's going to saw your legs off. It work. Right, and Yu-Gi-Oh cards weren't unaffected either. I like this one.
Final, yeah.
Right. Yeah, but we see this in One Piece in the death of Belmir. It's already also changed from the manga. Belmir is shot at point-blank range in the head by Arlong. In the original anime, she's shot in the chest instead. I don't know why that's less brutal, but okay. But this is what 4Kids did. I don't even want to say it.
Finger gun.
Out a nice room in a dungeon for the rest of your day. If you can't pay the cash, then you're out with the trash. And feel free to quote me. Yeah.
We will. Anyway.
So she's just locked up forever?
She dies by dungeon-related causes. causes because she's never mentioned again. I have to assume that's starvation, and I don't see how that's worse than getting shot. Right? And so why? Why were they doing this? It goes down to syndication, advertising, merchandise revenues, and end of the day, they wanted to dub these shows because they were a dubbing company and they wanted to market to children. So dubs produced by companies like 4Kids or Saban or Ocean can be considered a result of broadcast standards and practices of the times, and there was a very set idea of what cartoons were and who the intended audience was. You wanted syndication, you had to abide by rules and regulations, and we want to be fair again, and this wasn't something limited to Japanese anime or really even animation in general. Okay, does everybody remember this series? Spider-Man. Right, it aired 1994 to 1998, and remember Spider-Man would go around punching people, fighting, right? No, actually. You see, Spider-Man had these rules. The cops used laser guns. Spider-Man was not allowed to punch anyone, throw people through glass. Children had to be in jeopardy, threaten anyone by fire, and say the word kill. So instead of getting shot, Uncle Ben moves to Canada. Same thing, right?
Yeah.
Totally the same thing.
I know.
I forgot that didn't.
And the head writer, our producer, John Semper, stated that writers were specifically told that Spider-Man can't pull a George Costanza. If he lands on the roof, he must not harm any pigeons. Interesting role. And this is a movie that aired on the CW once.
Oh.
Yeah, so edits aren't really limited to animation.
Yep.
You see what happens? You see what happens, Larry? You see what happens? This is what happens, Larry. You see what happens, Larry? You see what happens when you find a stranger in the house?
Find a stranger in the
Yeah,
house.
that's not the original one.
No, definitely not.
And this actually isn't something limited to the US either.
He's exploding on air.
No, there's
Yeah,
a
in
stick.
Germany they actually have
Stick.
stricter rules, or at least they did a while ago.
The
I don't
stick's
know
not
if it's
attached to
now.
anything.
But they can't have blades in like children's shows, so I don't know if Zabuza has an invisible sword or he fights with a floating stick. I don't know what the reason. Okay, if you really want to be sadistic and talk about a bad intro, watch the first season of Naruto's German intro. Yeah, we're not gonna play it. We're not that sadistic. But if you want to torture yourselves, look it up. We don't have it. It's not in there. You cannot tempt us. All right, so worst of the worst winners: Yu-Gi-Oh! And One Piece.
Absolutely.
We're gonna go more into depth in this series and talk about how they were changed a bit. Yu-Gi-Oh's up first, and the biggest change in this series was really tone.
Killed me with One
It's
Piece, though.
I think it's a really dark series if you read the manga. Personally, I think it's a lot darker than it needs to be.
Yeah.
But not in a bad way, but it's just dark. So this is a series that aired from 2001 to 2006, and the best way to show the real theme of the show is Toei Animation's one of their productions in 1998. It was a 27-episode anime adaptation of darker pre-Duel Monsters content, and some fans refer to this as Season 0, but it's actually not related to the more popular Duel Monsters series. They're both based on the manga, but they were produced separately. Oh yeah, one point. Yuki's not an orphan in the series. For some reason, the anime in English just edits out his parents.
What? Why?
Alright, so here's some clips from the, here's a clip from the Toei Animation from 1998.
ルールはたった一つ。
Oh, yeah, that's what I gotta
それ
say
は
about that.
この10本の指の中で決められた1本以外動かしてはならないという制約さ。どの指を選ぶかはお互いの自由。その選んだ指だけで行動する。さあ、どの指を選ぶ？
それなら当然この人差し指を選ぶね。銃の引き金を引くための人差し指をな。
OK。俺はこの指を選ぶ。
親指一本で何ができるってんだ。まあこの俺が一瞬であの世に送ってやるぜ。
ゲームスタートの合図をしたら何をしようと自由。引き金を引くこともね。さあ、行くぜ。ゲームスタート。
この一瞬でゲームオーバーだ。あ、そうか、まだ火をつけていなかったな。最後にその親指で俺のタバコに火をつけさせてやる。その後殺してやるぜ。
このライターやれよ。あの世に持っていきな。その先はロシア製の農家。アルコール度 90%。
動け。ライターを落と
I
す
remember
先
that
にいいか。
from the mall.
そして俺の体は
試しに銃を撃ってみろよ。反動で確実にライターが落ちるぜ。行くぞ、安全。
このままじゃそうだ、ここすれば。
やはりルールを守ることができなかったようだな。
なんだあの額の目は。
闇のゲームは人間の本性を暴き出す。ルールを破った者には運命の罰ゲーム。
このガキふざけやがって。
闇の扉が開かれた。
I wonder if 4Kids never dubbed that.
Can't imagine
And
why.
the duel monsters got really dark at times. Best example of that is Face Off, where Taya/Anzu gets an after-school job, which is actually against school rules in Japan, and she gets blackmailed. The 4Kids version, she gets a note in her locker claiming there's a dance studio she can use. Japanese version, there's a picture of her working, and she's threatened to report to school if she doesn't show up. English version, she gets confronted by a mugger. Japanese version, creepy guy with video camera. Let's show him.
放課後体育倉庫で待つ。来なければお前の秘密をばらす。まさか城之内、それとも遊戯？あんたたちだってことは分かってるのよ。
おとなしくしろ。アルバイトのことをバラされたら退学だぞ。バラされたくなかったら俺の言う通りにするんだ。
あんたこそこんなことしてただで済むと思ってんの？
校則違反のお前にそんなことを言う権利はないね。
あんず何するんだ。
So we can see 4Kids edited out the video camera and the cameraman's point of view. Can't blame him though, that's really not kid show material. This is just funny and a little morbid. Alright, now let's cover One Piece. This is another show that got made to look really, juvenile, for lack of a better term. It's probably one of the reasons a lot of people stopped watching it. I have to admit I did at that point because I thought it was childish. By the time I found out it wasn't, I was so far behind it's not even funny.
Yep.
To be fair to 4Kids, this was not a series they asked for. They didn't want it in the first place. But online speculation seems to think they got it as part of a package deal with Shaman King. So they ended up with it and edited it down. 143 episodes were cut down to 104 up to the Sky Island arc. They cut out several story arcs. You can see the list there. Right, and here is a cringe compilation for you. This is how they edited the language.
Oh no.
Zoro makes dad
Now
jokes
he's
at
a
one point.
traitor and also a liar. So why waste your time?
It's hogwash. Don't you diss Nami or I'll butter you and batter you and deep fry you in oil till you're nothing but fish sticks.
Listen to this pirate defending his lady. She's no lady, she's a liar, pants on fire.
Be careful who you're calling a liar, cause I learned from a master chef and pirate how to fry both your pants and your fins, eh?
One more crack like that, Goldilocks, and you'll be eating this knuckle sandwich.
Should we start recording?
Your cursed fruit moves are cute, they amuse me. But you use them as if you were ordering from a fast food menu. You put no time or effort into planning your attack. Goodbye, Straw Hat. Desert Girasol! A lovely way to describe it, Straw Hat. That makes you Desert Doo-Doo. Shuts everything down. Flush down a toilet. What a way to go, huh? Real classy.
Solo.
Sanji's lollipop. I want to find out what he's always slurping on.
Sanji's not gonna like that!
Then don't tell him. Hey, Mr. One, tell me something. When Crocodile trained you, did he say sit, heel, and roll over?
Your attitude's the pits.
Cherry, peach, or apricot? Does he give you nice doggy biscuits when he wants you to play fetch?
And you, all buck, no bite. Funny.
I know you don't think I'm very smart, but guess what? I figured out that when you get wet, your body hardens, and you can't turn to sand. So you can be clobbered when you're a big stiff. I knew it when you busted the water barrel Tutu gave me. It spilled on you, and your arm got really hard. Then I grabbed you with my wet hand. And you were in pain, which means you can't beat me when I'm wet. Rain from alabaster is because you didn't want to take the chance of ever getting wet. You want to fight me? Let's fight. I'm angry and I'm wet.
That didn't sound right.
You need your temper change.
Alright, so back to the timeline. This is the downfall of 4Kids. So in 2006, their company trouble started. Their license for Pokemon ended after season 8. They were outbid for Itosh Productions, so they couldn't renew it. One Piece production stopped after Toei revoked their license, and Funimation got it next year. So they focused on rewriting Sonic X and Yu-Gi-Oh! And that was through 2008, and began laying off part of their workforce. In 2008, their programming agreement with Fox ended, the Kids WB ended, and succeeded by CW4Kids, later rebranded as Toonzai. But things get interesting starting around 2010, because they got delisted from the New York Stock Exchange. And in 2011, there was an internal audit that revealed multiple acts of fraud related to secret licensing deals for Yu-Gi-Oh! That essentially defrauded Japanese companies out of millions. So they got sued by these Japanese companies for $5 million, and I think the creator of Yu-Gi-Oh! They lost licensing rights to the series, which was their largest franchise at the time, and filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy. So as part of their deal, they had to sell licenses to pay back dues. So Saban got Dragon Ball Z Kai, Sonic X and CW programming. Konami got the Yu-Gi-Oh! Franchise. And so, continued. In 2012, they rebranded as the Four Licensing Corporation, and they were making some sort of sports equipment, I think it was, but they declared bankruptcy again in 2016. And in February 2017, they finally became defunct. In conclusion, 4Kids has been destroyed, but I think it's fair to look back and say that, back when we were, those of us who were old enough, 90s and 2000s fans, if we hadn't had 4Kids anime, we really probably wouldn't have anything, unless you had a direct contact in Japan or your Blockbuster, God, I'm old, stuffed all the volumes of this anime series. So I think it's worth thinking of 4Kids anime as sort of the start of a journey, and I think that's the reason a lot of us are here at this convention in this room today. So I think we can appreciate it for that, even in hindsight. But let's be honest, 4Kids, it was
Desert doo-doo.
Thank